Hi there, everybody. This is Bill MacDonald, the writing and reading doctor. Welcome to CREST online training, part 1, lesson 6, where we work on the hierarchy or the scaffolding from bottom to top, building up to the hierarchy of writing incomplete sentences. And I have this screen behind me, this virtual library, because it has a lot of books. Books have lots of people, places, things, and ideas. That's plural. It might have a person, a thing, a place, or an idea, singular. If it's the name of the person, place, thing, or idea in the world, then you have to do something special there. You have to make sure that you go ahead and capitalize proper nouns. So I have this world ball here, and it's got the names of oceans, different places, and of course, because of my green screen, you're going to kind of see it a little bit weird, and I'll take that off when we're using the document camera, but just ignore the freakiness of the green screen where it tries to see through the ball to the wall. Because I want you to notice right over here where I put my whole world, there's a book that says world. And so in the world, there's lots of places that we talked about in one of our last lessons in our combined capitalization and punctuation. There's oceans, there's lakes, rivers, streams, countries, cities, continents, the planet. And why do I look taller today? It's because I said slow, shift, size. The color that stands for slow, slow the sentence down, because you're going to start every proper noun with a capital. You're going to push in your mind your imaginary slow button. It'll be shift to change the size of the first letter of that proper noun, the capital. And so inside this world and the world of all those books are certain people. You notice here, there's certain people that have names. And so I see an animal up there, that's a camel, but unless you give that camel a name, it's just a common noun. This is a statue. Those are statues. But if you knew the name, the who of those, then you could use a capital letter. So every single time that we talk about capital, I want you to think of the letter C of our gold cup. When we're doing editing and graduating to cups with an S, that would be a spelling, and two S's would be run-ons and fragments. But if you can think of just singular cup, that you're going to write a sentence, a simple sentence, then you're going to imagine 3 colors. Okay. And we're going to talk about just one page today in the binder. I believe it's page 107. And we're just going to use the first 3 letters of our cups with 2 S's to make sure we think of 3 words that rhyme. And they're going to rhyme with the color yellow for slow. The cool thing about the word slow is it starts with an S. So does the word shift on your computer, where you're trying to change the size of the letter and make it have a capital. They sell these at Dollar Tree, like 4 for $1. And so I would suggest that before the 4th of July, you go ahead and get some so that you can have enough for all your kids, because I believe that during the first 6 weeks or more, depending on your grade or your student's ability level, you're going to want to work on capitalization, because I can work on a lot of words and phrases such as name, date, school, teacher, and title. I need to capitalize all those things, even if I can't learn to punctuate the date correctly. So if you think of cup, we're going to think of the C as in if I want to write a sentence and graduate all the way, the cup is slow yellow. So I'll be using my yellow pen here for slowing down my thinking and pushing the shift button to change the size of the letter, like to change the size of Mr. MacDonald. He's taller now, supposedly, because he has a cap on. Then you're going to use the U of cup, and you're going to, and you can't see it here, but I'll show it to you on the document camera when I take off. That's green for go. So let me go ahead and so you can see that. I'm going to go ahead and switch to no background for a second so that you can see the actual colors. So if I show them to you from left to right, you see yellow for slow, shift, size, green for go. You're going to go until you have correct usage. A sentence cannot stop, which means whoa, until you have a subject and a predicate. So the order of cups is slow, shift, size, first letter of the first word, go until you have a subject and a predicate, and whoa at the stop sign, a period, exclamation, or a question mark. So if a sentence is like a street, then the street must have a stop sign. And that's why when you look at the folders that most of you have already gotten or will get tomorrow, you're going to see, let me go ahead and share the screen now so that you can see the document camera, remembering that you have, all of you have this. You have the digital version of this and the hard copy. Even those of you who only ordered one part of the training, or 2 or 3, because some of you did, I went ahead and sent you today all the 1s, 2s, and 3s. The only people I didn't send the folders to today are the ones who ordered today the CREST training after 2 o'clock. So I'll get those out to you tomorrow. So I want you to take a look. There's your slow. Does the sentence start with a capital? So we would read each essay, no. Passage, no. Let's worry about a sentence first. And when you get to each word that has a capital, pretend to put on a cap, which I already have on, and say capital, proper noun, and first words, and titles, underline. One of the editing rules is to underline the capital letters 3 times, which is kind of cool because we want to do that for all proper nouns. And we're going to go using Spider-Man to make sure that every sentence has a subject till we use a subject and a predicate, a verb. And until we've done so, we can't get to the stop sign where we say, whoa, period, exclamation, or question mark. So again, slow, shift, size. Go until you have a subject and a predicate. Whoa at your period, exclamation mark, and question mark. So the next thing I want to share with you then, if you're going to use that concept, is the monkeys that I sent all of you in a little bag somewhere in your package. I want to show you the 3 places that you can buy monkeys, okay? The first place is these barrels of monkeys that you can get at Walmart, or for some of you, if you have HEB Plus, okay? They do have them there, and they have them in orange, purple, green, blue, red, orange, green, blue, purple, red. So what's missing? Unfortunately, they don't make the yellow monkeys in this form. And what I don't like about this kind is there's 12 in there, or 13. I can't remember exactly. 10, I believe it says. Yeah, 10 monkeys, and they're only one color. So then I said, I gotta fix this. So I started going to Dollar Tree, and they used to sell this kind, comma, but when I say comma, I have to slow down. And the cool thing about those was that they had yellow, blue, green, and red, 3 of each. And if you go to your Dollar Tree and they happen to still have them, awesome. Because what you're going to do is you're going to think, oh, sentence. In order to have a S sentence, we've got to go S slow, because we want to start the sentence S. We want to push the shift button to change the size of the letter in our computer. And if we're doing it on our own on paper or pencil, we have to just change the size, and we'd have to look really quickly at the bottom half of the folder so you can remember, oh, there's all the capital letters in print, and there's the ones in cursive. And I would suggest the state does not require anything online anymore in terms of writing by hand. Everything's going to be online. So I would just suggest, if you, unless you're just working on cursive with your students, just focus on what the print letters look like, because the way they look with a paper and a pencil and a pen are that no letters can touch with print, but they won't have space between them. So 0 spaces if you're going to write a word. So I'm going to start with a capital, and that word will have a capital. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the U. Spider-Man's going to help us with his web to connect using his head for subject and his body for the predicate, the action, and the verb, PAV. I'll put that in there. So we have a subject. I'm using green because green stands for go. I'm going to keep going until I have a subject that's singular or plural. Person, place, thing, idea. People, place, things, ideas. So I have a predicate, also known as the action or the verb. Okay. So he's got his hands showing you, is my subject S singular, one, meaning one, or is it plural, meaning more than one? And then I want to ask you, what color are his red shoes? They're red because our stop sign would be period, exclamation, or question mark. So right between his feet, his red shoes, we can draw a period, an exclamation, and a question mark. Okay, and I'm going to intentionally use red because once the street is finished, a sentence is like a street that you pave with the subject, a predicate, the action, the verb, and then the ending. And of course, you can have some adjectives or some adverbs in there, but we're just going to focus on simple right now. And so there you have it, your slow, your go, until you have a subject and a predicate, and then your whoa. And so if you buy the Dollar Tree monkeys, you can say, okay, maybe the green can be the subject, that there's a person, a place, a thing, or idea. The blue can be the predicate, and then you can whoa. But if you're just going to stick to the colors of the traffic light, you say slow, shift, size, go, till you have the subject and the predicate, and then whoa to stop the sentence. So that is probably something that I would have on an anchor chart. I'm going to link these together so you can see what they would look like. The ones that you have, I got from Oriental Trading, and they sell them for about $17, and you get about 400. And as you see in your bag, yours are a lot smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the ones like that you have. So matching, we have our slow, go, and whoa. Let's use the size that I gave you guys. We have our slow, shift, size, and if I turn it to make it look like an S, slow, shift, size. You're also going to be using this later. If you look at this bottom part, there's a comma there. Every time you slow the sentence down for a comma or an apostrophe or a contraction, we can think of yellow, and that's why all the punctuation marks that are slow punctuation are yellow. And the cool thing is, it's an apostrophe or a comma that comes on down. Comma, apostrophe. They look the same, comma, but they're different. So that's going to help you with capitalization to remember to slow down, push shift, and change the size of the letters, and also to put a comma or an apostrophe, a contraction, or we'll worry about some of this later though. And there's if you see here, there's when you're talking, I'm going to put it up here because before I speak, I could have what's called my opening quotation marks before I talk, and I'll put it right before my mouth. And then the actual words that come out of my mouth will be written down on paper, or whoever the character is, whatever they said. Then you'll have your closing quotation marks on the other side when you're done talking. And then you can have your closing of your sentence, whatever words were being spoken by the speaker. Okay, so you guys have your, get out your yellow, the ones who have them already. Yellow, slow, you might want to write this down. Slow, shift, capital, go until you, green, until you have a subject and a predicate. And I believe that my son was telling me that he was getting low on some monkeys, but so I said, well, try to make sure everybody has at least yellow, green, and red. And then, you know, just for starters, so then you guys can go either to Oriental Trading and type out plastic monkeys, and you can buy 400 for $17. If you happen to find some still at Dollar Tree, they're $1.25 now, and there's 3 each of yellow, blue, green, and red. So if you want to check the quantity of details, you might want to, the older the student, the more sentences that you would want to have in terms of an extended essay response. So I don't think if you're in secondary and you're doing an extended essay response, maybe 3 green monkeys where you're explaining your evidence might not be enough quantity, not enough depth. So you might want to have, I gave most of you either 3 or 4 of each of these colors, plus you have some orange, some blue, and some, what's the other color? Orange, blue, and purple. Okay, so those are at Oriental Trading. But that's for people who are trying to start with a whole sentence. And I feel like that, like I mentioned in my last lesson, that might be going a little too far. So if we go to page 100, I think it's page 7, we'll look right now. If I go to page 107, yes, it is. So you can see it right there. I have my capitalization rules. So the first one that I want to talk about is the one letter that's by itself. And so if you look in the corner here at the screen, I told you that you can go to Walmart and they have this bouncy ball. You can see inside there's a little ball and it's 97 cents when an I is by itself, secluded with some space, because the ball is, the eyeball is inside the the sphere. What you'll say is, okay, I have to remember that ball forever, the pronoun I have to say slow, shift, size, because you notice here that lowercase i's all have little dots, not hearts, stars, or circles like eyeballs. They should have just little dots. So the first one you might teach is the pronoun I. And so what you're going to like about every single one of these rules, if you don't have something to practice these rules once you talk about it with your kids, then you can use my pages because I have one page dedicated to each one of these colors right after this page in the binder. So let's just take a look so you can see what I'm talking about. Clear the drawings. If you're the teacher who says, oh, I really believe in starting with a whole sentence, then great. Then you're going to go to the next page and you're going to have your kids practice capitalizing the first word of all of these sentences. And I want you to notice something else that's important about the first word in a sentence. And you can say this to the kids. Don't just pay attention that you slow down and pushed shift to change the size. You also might want to say, let's take a look at the whole word to make sure that we're not starting, say, whoa, say, slow down here. Let's make sure that we're not starting with the same word all the time, because there's too many kids that will say, I like to start with I all the time. So then what you would do, and I'm only going to do this just for this one, so you can say, okay, I'm either just going to start the sentence. Oh, by the way, here's another eyeball. If you look in the corner during Halloween at Dollar Tree, they sell these little eyeballs. And again, the eyeball is in the center. And if the eye is ever by itself, then you have to say slow, shift, size. You're going to put capital. All right. But first word in a sentence, there you go. It's right there. So I'm going to click on my text in my computer, try to line up. I want to go slow. I want to push shift, capital Y. That changed the size. Let go of shift. You can't. And so you see then an apostrophe or a contraction. It's up in the air. So that would be yellow. If you want to talk about you cannot come to my house today, period. And I'll move it over so that we can see the whole sentence on there. So they come off. Is it all resting on the line? It looks a little hot, a little low. So I'll bring it up just a hair. And yes, what did we do? We said push in your mind the slow button and say shift, size, make sure it's bigger. And a lot of students who are writing with paper and pencil, they do this. They put their Y's, let me show you. They put their Y's, let me select this sentence that I already did. There we go. Hey, where'd it go? Okay. Let me show you what happens with a lot of kids. Instead of putting it below the line like they're supposed to, on P's and Y's, they tend to put it above the line, not remembering the rule about the tail. And so all those 5 letters that have tails have to be halfway under the line. So you might say caution. Can I go green? Can I go green? See if I can click on green here. It's not letting me for some reason. Green, please. It's not letting me draw. There it goes, finally. Goodness gracious. So if you look at this sentence here, that's already written. So we're going to read a book. We're going to read a chapter. We're going to read a page. We're going to read a paragraph, a sentence, a phrase, all the way down to a word. And so when you see this word right here, this is good to go because the letter with the tail is halfway below the line, you can see that it's definitely halfway below the line on both of the P's. And so make sure you talk about that when your kids are typing, they don't make the same mistake with their keyboard that they used to make with their pencil on a piece of paper, where they would have these Y's above the line, because now it's going to be a capital problem. They'll know that the student intentionally pushed the shift button, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that all those letters with little tails, shift, select again, all those letters with the little tails have to be halfway under the line, or else if they're checking the editing, they're gonna say, oh, that's a capitalization mistake. Now it won't be just a punctuation problem. It's a keyboarding problem where they're putting a capital. So who is the subject? Who is my subject? You. What about the subject? You can't come. I have my subject and my predicate. But they want to add where and when. They want to add where can adverb. To my house. Today. So if you want to add a color, because of purple and orange and blue, you can assign a different color to subjects, predicates, adverbs, adjectives, because all nouns are a person, a place, a thing, and what's the subject. So the cool thing about subject, again, is that subject does start with an S. And so just kind of color code, but I'm focusing on the concept that I shared with you. Does this sentence have a slow, a go subject and a predicate? And does it have a whoa? Yes, it has a whoa. The stop sign is there. So see if I can get that red to come out. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little red circle. There's my whoa. So that sentence is complete because it has a slow shift size, it has a subject and a predicate, and it has a stop sign, a whoa. Again, kind of corny, kind of silly, but I think unless we make things kinesthetic for the kids, they're going to struggle. So let me go back and talk about the next one that I would suggest. People and titles. My title is slow shift size doctor. Slow shift size. So what color would that be? It would be yellow. So I'm trying to, there it goes. I'm going to check. Yes, the D is capitalized. The size is bigger because I pushed the shift button. And I even have a stop sign there because I have to stop and say, how do I abbreviate doctor? How do I abbreviate Mr. and Mrs.? But since we're only focusing on people and titles, all people, their real names. I just say a person, that's not their real name. A title, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss. So it's capital. When would I do an opening of a letter? Only when I'm ready to write an entire paragraph or an entire page. So I wouldn't recommend doing opening of a letter and a closing of a letter before you've done simple things like, oh, what's the title of a work? A magazine, a newspaper, a book, movie, show, a television series. And so if you look and see here, we have New York Times. What you might do is count also syllables. Here's new, yellow, only one syllable. Here's York, 2 words in a row, and where I had to push slow, shift, size, and times. I couldn't just go. I had to put those 3. Try to enlarge myself a little bit here, see if you can see me a little bit bigger. Okay, so there I am with New York Times, slow shift capital, slow shift size, slow shift size. How about where the red fern grows? Capital, where, slow. The is a go. So I gotta get a green. I don't need to push slow shift size. Oh, I dropped some monkeys. Don't let your monkeys fall because then they get hurt and have to go to the hospital. We have to call 911. Where the, sorry, where, slow shift size, the red, slow shift size, fern, slow shift size, and so those of you that have 4 or more, you'll be able to do this one. If you can't, then you can just kind of move through the words and take the ones that you've already done and kind of put them at the end. So that's what where the red fern grows. You'd have to push slow shift size on 4 out of those 5 words. So those are fine. Great. Learn how to name, look at the names of those books. They're on the spine. What does spine start with? And S. So sometimes we have to see the title on the spine. The title is at the top of a passage, and it usually talks about the topic, and it's usually capitalized. And so as you can see here, the rest of these proper nouns are, and I'm just going to look at this page today, Dallas Cowboys. So that would be 2 yellows. But if you want to break it down into syllables even, Dallas Cowboys. Only 2 words, but I would make sure I say that out loud so I can break the proper noun into syllables. So Dallas Cowboys, there's the Alamo, a specific location, a make and a model, a capital Ford, capital Mustang, capital Alamo, comma, remember, we're going to add that in there to remind your kids that we're going to pay attention to the bottom part. We're using the bottom part to connect a city and a state, to slow down and put a comma between the city and the capital state. Then we have the name of our country, capital United. And I kept enough monkeys for myself to make sure I could do any lesson. United States, okay? I want to keep going. I could say of And why did I use green? Because I can go on of, it's not an important word, and it's always the first word and the last word. America, slow, shift, size. So that would be Alamo, capital Alamo, comma, capital Texas, capital United, capital States, green of, capital, slow, shift, size, America. And so I'm going to let you go with that one. Try the rest of those proper nouns, pretending to use all of those important S's that we learned when we were talking about keyboarding and penmanship that are so important when you're getting ready to talk. This is one that many kids struggle with, so I'll close with this one. Whenever the tag is first, let me show you the tag, okay? The tag is how the sentence starts. So I'm going to make sure that we take a look. Who is the person speaking? It's Zachary. And so underline, slow, shift, size. It's capitalized because he's the name of a person and he's the first word of the sentence. And so the tag, when you put the tag in a sentence, is who is the person talking and what said word are you going to use? And my folder is full of them so that you can know how it's being said. And then so if you think here, there's something being said in this sentence by a person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a mouth right here. And if those quotation marks can be thought of as opening dimples and closing dimples, it's what is said after your opening dimple. Watch out for that tree! Exclamation, the stop sign, whoa, and then quotations because you're done talking. So there's our yellow quotation marks. And so there's, when you're having dialogue, there's 5 cuz that I want you to think about, okay? So let me type them as I'm saying them. Whenever the tag is first, you can, let me put it right up here in the title section. Zachary yelled, k, comma. That's the first k. K, quotation. That's the second k, capital. So there's 3 k's that happen right in a row. So the first word in direct quotation, you would, on quotation marks, you would have to push the shift button, and then right next to enter, if you can kind of look at it, the right shift button has the quotation marks. It's almost like the shift button is pointing, the one on the right, if you look down at your keyboard, is pointing to the quotation mark. So if you push shift and then quotation mark while you're holding the shift button down, you'll get to see that quotation marks that's pointing towards the mouth. Comma, quotation, capital. The watch is slow, shift, size. Watch out for that tree, all the things that came out of Zachary's mouth. Closing. So I'm going to extend this opening of this sentence here. So you can see that way over here at the end of what was said, I'm going to close the sentence with a stop sign. And then I have my last quotation because the person's done talking. And so if we said, watch out for that tree, Zachary yelled, there's still 5 cuz they're just in a different order. So slow, go, and whoa. I hope you liked the idea. Couple of things to remember. Get a world ball and talk about all the people, the places, the things, and the ideas that are all around the world in singular and plural that are proper nouns that will underline because they're going to need a capital on first word. Okay. If it's a sentence, we need to think of cup, slow, shift, size, go, until you have a subject and a predicate, green. Or if you want to assign a different color to a predicate, you've got 6 colors, most of you, inside your monkey bag. And then whoa, the ending, the stop sign, the end of the street, cup. Okay. You can go buy the little 97-cent ball for the pronoun I whenever the I is by itself. How do you decide whether it's I or me? Because that sentence had I in front of the verb. Every time you take out the other person, Valerie and I went to the movies. If you say, Valerie's not going, I'm going, I went to the movies. Me went to the movies. When you take out the other person, you've got to decide, does it sound better with I by itself or me? Not we, but I am going by myself, so is it me? So if I say Zachary, my son, went to the movies with Valerie and I, because if there's 2 people in the equation, Valerie and I, now that it's after the verb, I got to check and see which one do I use, the I or do I use the me? Valerie went to the movies, take out Valerie, with I, period. Sounds weird. Valerie went to the movies with me, period. That sounds better. So 2 ways to check. Is it before the predicate? Is it before the predicate or after? Or take out the other person and leave the pronoun I or me and see if it's in front of the predicate or if it's in back of the predicate. If it's in front, it's I. If it's in back of the predicate, it's me. The thing about I and me, you can see that there are 3 fingers pointing down. Do I use I or do I use me? So there you have it for today's lesson. I hope that you enjoyed it. That was making basic capitalization visual, verbal, auditory, and kinesthetic. Not only was I typing shift, the word, I was saying the word slow, shift, size, and you hold that shift down until you see the size change to a capital. And I think that will make all the difference in the world because we're not only saying those words, we're doing those things kinesthetically on the keyboard. We're either pretending to put on a cap, putting on a real one. Just don't mix all the hats and caps together on capitalization day, because then if you're in lice season, the kids will end up giving lice to each other. Then you, the other thing that you can do is use the different monkeys so you can see the phrases. You want to just count syllables depending on what grade level your kids are, we could snap quiet, quite. That's one syllable versus two. They sound the same, but I wouldn't use yellow on those syllables because it's quiet. So I could have two of anything except yellow or red. Try to keep yellow for slowing down and red for stopping. So if you're just counting syllables, just use whatever. Just use any color except for yellow or red. There's quiet and there's quite. Why are you doing that? Is because sometimes you have to hear the word in order to know the syllables, syllables, and the sounds that it makes. So as soon as you see it, S, say it, S, so you can make the sound S of the syllables S, and you can use your five senses S to make things kinesthetic so you can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. Make every lesson like that, and I think it'll be more enjoyable for the kids. So take the ideas you like and throw away the ideas you don't. As I put in my quote today, life happens at full speed. Reading, capital, life happens at full speed, period. Capital, slow, shift, size, reading and writing happen, two things, in slow motion, one skill at a time. So that's me slowing reading and writing down to just the skill of being able to keyboard the skill of capitalization, to use sounds and syllables and the way I say it, the way I speak it, and the slow, go, and whoa for a whole sentence. There's a lot of really great information in this lesson. I hope that you enjoyed it. Remember, uh, every single one of those rules on page 107 has a whole page. Once you've modeled that rule, you can decide to go from the pronoun I to sentence, so you can go down the list. Just make sure you're very careful in talking about both paper and pencil strategies with paper, with pencil and pen strategies with paper, or PC for keyboarding. There's a lot of things to talk about. So email me, message me, let me know what you enjoyed about today's lesson. I am not going to go over all of those pages with you, but as you go over each rule, I suggest that you spend a day or so going over some, most, or all of those capitalization. Maybe do the first one as a class or the first couple as a class, because as usually I try to have anywhere between 6 to 10 examples on each page of whatever skill that we're learning. So you might do the first couple as a class, do a couple as a group, have them do the next two with a partner, and then to try some solo once they've learned that rule. And then throughout the year, they're going to be seeing capitalization in lots of things that they read. So in my next lesson, I'm going to show you how to use some special pages I added to the binder to have them have a glossary of capitalization words and phrases, where each kid can have his or her own anchor chart, or you can actually print out the pages that I'm going to show you in my next video. from the binder, or you can have these on the classroom wall. So these are things to think about, and I'll talk about it in the next video, where basically it's every single capitalization rule that I could think of under the sun, uh, so that we could have a, just like we do with a word bank that's growing, we want to have a capitalization bank of all of the words and phrases that we find about each rule. Like, oh, that's a store. I'm going to put that on the page just for stores that are proper nouns with capitals. And again, if there's 5 words in that store name, which ones are going to be with a yellow monkey and which ones would be green, but you don't need capital. So we'll see you soon. Go ahead and click like on the YouTube page as you finish, and message or email me anytime any of you are emailing me or messaging me about anything. You get points. Several of you are doing the challenges. The challenge for you today is to just practice that section on page 107 with proper nouns using the yellow monkeys and the green monkeys for those phrases. When are you slowing down? When are you going because you don't need a capital on those words? So that's your only challenge. Do some extra time just practicing using the monkeys, and each of you have anywhere between 3 to 5 of each color, at least of yellow, red, and green. Again, all of you who purchased one or more of the online training, I surprised you today by sending you 25 of the advanced folders and a little bag of monkeys that you can use to manipulate like we did in today's video. But you could also draw yellow S's, green S's, red S's, purple, blue, and orange, depending on what you decide the other colors are going to represent in your classroom. Take care and God bless.